MMA Rants and Raves, UFC 134, post-fight review. Guys, let's talk about these fights. Let's go over some of the main fights. We'll start out with Shogun versus Forrest Griffin. You know, it's kind of interesting, at the beginning of the fight, I heard the commentator mention that Forrest Griffin looked tight. And it's kind of interesting when he said it, and of course the result that came after the fight. And if you look back to their first matchup, I mean, so many people were not giving Forrest Griffin credit for winning that fight. They were saying that, I mean, this was a popular thing, Shogun wasn't in good shape. I mean, come on. I mean, first of all, the fight was a grueling fight. It was a tough fight for both these guys. They were both tired at the end of the fight. I mean, Griffin, it was a classic Forrest Griffin type of fight. He mixed up his striking very well with his grappling. He wore his opponent out. Griffin is known for very good cardio. And, you know, what he basically did was he was able to wear his opponent out, and he just came up with this classic submission, this classic ending, seconds left in the fight to win. And people are saying that Shogun wasn't in good shape. And I disagree with that. You know, he was the better fighter that night. And people just don't give Forrest Griffin credit. The guy, he's a legendary fighter. He's a great fighter. I mean, he's beaten some of the who's who in mixed martial arts. I mean, victories over Ortiz, Jackson, Franklin, and Shogun makes you a legend. And also, he's a former UFC champion. So, you know, give the guy credit. And now in this fight, you hear the commentator say that he looked tight. So, you know, why can't you make the excuse for Forrest Griffin and say, oh, he didn't look his best. You know, maybe he wasn't in good shape. Maybe there was something wrong. And maybe there was, you know, right? So you can question that. You can wonder if that was the case. But the way I saw it in this fight, it just didn't seem that Griffin's game plan was what I expected it to be. I mean, his game plan was brilliant against Rich Franklin. He used his wrestling. He's a bigger man. He was able to use his size to wrestle Franklin, to control him on the ground, and that's how he won the fight. And, you know, I was surprised that he didn't come out with that game plan, a more aggressive grappling technique to try to neutralize Shogun's dangerous striking, to take him to the ground, because he did a lot of ground fighting in their first matchup. And, you know, work his ground game, his ground and pound, his jiu-jitsu, which is very good, and try to wear Shogun out. You know, that's the thing. I mean, that's the way you win against Shogun. You know, if you look at both Mark Coleman fights against Shogun, well, of course, the first fight, of course, he took Shogun down, and Shogun got injured. But he won the fight with grappling. That was a grappling exchange that caused Coleman to win that fight, the first one. And if you look at the second one, of course, it was only at the end of the third round. It was a grueling fight. Shogun was exhausted. I mean, so was Coleman, but Shogun was absolutely exhausted at the end of that fight. If you make this guy work, it's possible, you know, that you can get him tired and then you have a chance to win the fight. But, you know, that wasn't the case here. It just, it didn't seem that Griffin was aggressive enough with his grappling. It looked like he was like throwing a lot of punches, and, you know, of course he does that a lot, but I think that he should have focused more on the grappling, and I mean, that's the way I saw it. But, you know, as far as Shogun, I mean, what a great victory. I mean, he came off a devastating loss, especially, you know, losing his belt, and now he comes back, you know, in a fight like this to put Griffin away. I mean, so quickly. A very, very tough, very good fighter like Griffin. So it's very impressive. I mean, you can still see one thing that's there, despite all the knee surgeries and his setbacks. I mean, he's got the power in his hands. I mean, he's very, very powerful. The leg kicks are very dangerous. I mean, you saw it against Machida, so that's very exciting to see. And, you know, it makes you wonder what's next for Shogun. Very, very impressive victory. Moving on to the next fight, Nogueira versus Schaub. Guys, wow. I mean, absolutely blown away by Nogueira. I mean, so many people are writing him off. I mean, you look at his past few fights, and two things you saw which you didn't see in his career. He's a guy who's finally been able to be knocked out. I mean, he had this granite chin. He took abuse from other fighters that no fighter can take, and he's able to withstand it. I mean, the wars he had against Emelianenko, and the wars he had against, you know, Krokop. He fought guys like that. He fought Josh Barnett. I mean, he could take a lot of punishment. He's fought huge heavyweights, very dangerous heavyweights, and he was able to take a lot of punishment. And the thing is, people are saying, he can't take it anymore. He suffered a quick knockout against Mayer, and then a devastating, very quick knockout against Velasquez. And now he comes into this fight. I mean, he actually took good shots in that fight. I mean, if you watch it, Schaub hit him with uppercuts. Looked like he hit him with an uppercut, and then he hit him with other big shots. This is a guy who hits hard. I mean, he's a very skilled stand-up fighter. I mean, he's on a tear. The guy was on a huge momentum swing. He had victories against very good opponents, and and he was taking shots. He was taking shots. And the other thing I noticed about Nogueira, his head movement was really good, moving his head around very well, trying to duck shots. I don't remember seeing it that much. And of course, what surprised me of all, which is the whole story about this fight, is he was trying to stand and bang with Schaub, and that must have surprised Schaub. I mean, I'm sure Schaub was, bracing for takedowns and grappling, because that's what he's been known throughout his career. Basically, if you look at his victories, I mean, submission after submission after submission. So the people that did predict, that were saying that if Nogueira was going to win, they were saying it by submission. I don't remember anybody talking about him getting, winning in a stand-up fight. And my goodness, I mean, winning it in the fashion that he won it. I mean, it was like, what was it? It was like 152. 152 left. Still left in the first round. He was able to pepper him with shots. He was assaulting him, and he put Schaub away. I was totally blown away by that. Like I said, the fact he's still able to take those shots. He suffered a devastating loss against Velasquez. The fact that he was able to take those shots and to continue to fight and to actually win with devastating knockout like that. And to pepper him with punches that were accurate, and to put Schaub away, to beat Schaub at his own game was very impressive, especially so early in the fight. And I wanted to make a few points about Nogueira. I mean, this guy's just an amazing story. I mean, I think as a kid he got hit by a truck. He has like this, looks like he has a hole in his back or something, and he had his guts taken out, put back in again. I mean, he's like a real life Frankenstein. I mean, you expect somebody that goes through that should be living the rest of his life, on strained peas. But instead, I mean, he not only does he get a job, I mean, he gets into one of the most brutal businesses out there. And not only that, I mean, he becomes a legend. He picks up a championship belt in 2 organizations, a Pride champion, former Pride champion, and then he's a former UFC champion. He picks up 2 belts. And now, you look at the twilight of his career, people are saying, oh, well, how much more punishment can he take? Hit by a truck, hit by Fedor, hit by Krokop, hit by all kinds of other fighters that he's faced. And now, he basically, he starts to get knocked out. Of course, he comes back against Randy, fought very well, and then, the fight after that, devastating knockout. And now he comes back. Such a long time. You think about also ring rust is a problem. It's been such a long time we've seen him, and now he comes back against a guy who's young, who's very hungry, who's showing amazing momentum, and he's able to come up with a victory that it was so unexpected. How he did it, just incredible to see this guy being able to do something like this. I mean, there's no fighter that's gone through what he's had to go through physically. All right, that's been as successful as he's been, and then suffer a setback, and then come back and just shock the world, with this performance. And like I said, his stand-up looked just spectacular. I mean, he's never been known as a great stand-up fighter. It was always his jiu-jitsu that was world-class. And now, I mean, his stand-up looked great. And the fact he was able to take those shots, so it's really a remarkable story. It's hard to imagine that it's real. I mean, this guy's a real legend, he really is. And then, of course, moving on to the main fight, Silva versus Okami. I'm shaking my head, and that basically sums up the way I feel about this fight. I mean, I just was totally shocked at what happened, and shocked at what Okami was doing in this fight. I mean, if you look at the first round, Okami was doing just about everything right. Okay? if you really analyze it, he was doing everything right. Just about everything. I mean, he was trying to stalk Silva, closing the distance, and then went into a Greco-Roman exchange. And he controlled Silva basically from 2:48 to 53 seconds. Okay? Left in that round. So you're talking about nearly 2 minutes. He had Silva pressed up against that cage. He was doing some dirty boxing. He was trying to throw knees. You know, of course he was taking some back, but for the most part he was winning that exchange. That's most of that first round. And then what I can't understand is, for nearly 2 minutes he has him pressed up against that cage. And then what happens is, with 53 seconds left, he just lets Silva go. I'm like, why? Why did you do that? Why let the guy go? You're winning a Greco-Roman exchange. It's so difficult just to close the distance, so dangerous just to close the distance against a guy like Anderson Silva. And then what you do is, you finally get the opportunity. You get him in the Grego clinch. And what do? You just let him go. You watch the fight, guys. Seriously, he just let him out of it. Why did he do that? I mean, was he hurt? I mean, did he take a knee there that he didn't like or something? I mean, he just let him go. And then he really got assaulted. Silva really, hit him hard towards the end of that first round, and he made him pay for letting him go. And that's how you're supposed to beat Silva. You see, what Okami had was the strength advantage. He's a bigger guy, and you got to put a body on him, and he didn't do that. He let him go. I was very surprised at that big mistake. And of course, there was only 53 seconds left. But if he would have held him there for the rest of that time, I mean, he wouldn't even won that round. Besides what happened at the end, towards the end, that was Okami's round. So I just didn't understand what he was doing. And then if you look at the second round, he continued from the hands-off approach as far as the grappling. Basically, he was just looking to play fisticuffs with him. And that's when I saw it, guys. That's when I saw it. I said to myself, deja vu. Once Silva started to make those head motions, and move the fists and do all that showboating, I am not kidding you, I turned it off. I said, that's it. This fight is over. Before I even saw the ending, I said, this fight is over. All right? And that's exactly what happened. Because I found out later, of course, but I knew it. I knew that the fight was over. And, if you look at what Silva does, all right? If you look at what Silva does, he has an ability that nobody in the history of mixed martial arts, maybe even boxing, has. He's able to read his opponent. If you throw right, he's going to move left. If you throw left, he's going to move right out of the way. If you throw a straight punch, he's going to move his head back. And just enough just to get out of the way. And the point I want to make is, when you have the ability, all right, the scary, uncanny ability to be able to move your head away from dangerous, potentially knockout punches, if you have the guts to do it, you have the ability to do it, because you know what's at risk, because if you miss, if you move the wrong way, you get clipped. It could be the end of the fight. So, he's able to do that. He's able to make people miss like that. And what's so to his advantage by doing that is that it's his counterpunching ability. See, if you're a counterpuncher, right? Let's say you're a counterpuncher and you're getting hit, you have to block it, and then you have to cock the hand back, especially if it's your punching power hand, right? If it's your power hand, and you have to retract and punch back. That takes time, so it gives your opponent maybe to protect himself. But if you're moving your head around and your guy misses, you can just throw a punch back without blocking anything, because he missed already, and before he's already exposing himself to come forward, and his head is right in front of you to hit. And that's what he does. He did it against Griffin. He was working this game plan against Okami, and you don't know when he's going to throw it. He'll move the head and then just throw it. And that's what really throws you off, because you don't know when he's going to throw the punch. And the thing is, what the heck was Okami doing? I mean, did he listen to his training partner? You got to get in his face and you got to beat him up. That's the only way you're going to beat this guy. If you're going to play games with him and fight the fight on the outside, he starts doing that showboating. He did it against Griffin. Griffin fell for the trap. He was trying to do it against Maya. Maya, it didn't work. Maia was actually trying to get this guy down. To his credit, he wouldn't fall for that stuff. But at least Maia tried. Maia just doesn't have the wrestling to do it, but he tried. He tried to get him down, and the fight went 5 rounds. And Silva got in a lot of trouble for that. For all that showboating and stuff. But he didn't even try. He was just playing that game with him. I mean, what was Okami thinking? I mean, it's as if you have an open manhole, right? And you see people walking right in front of you, and they're falling into the manhole. So what do? Rather than walk around the manhole not to fall in, he just fell right in. I mean, he just fell for the trap. So what was he thinking? Did he watch those other fights? You can't fight this guy like that. You have to grapple him. If he couldn't, he should have at least tried. Try to grab a hold of him. Do what he did in the first round. That grapple clinch was impressive. I mean, Silva cannot get any Muay Thai. It was like grapple clinch versus Muay Thai clinch. He couldn't get the Muay Thai clinch on him to throw those knees like he did against Franklin. He was doing well. He should have continued to grapple, try to grab, or go for a single. Even if he would have missed, and Silva would have ran away, he should have been trying to do it. You can't win a fight like that. I was very, very surprised. Unless Okami was really hurt, maybe in the first round, which is something I don't know. But to go into an exchange like that, I mean, into the second round, to get caught in that trap, which is not something that you have the benefit of hindsight because of watching what other fighters did. It's not like it's the first time Silva did that. So I was very surprised by what Okami did. I mean, it was really, really, really surprising. I have no idea what he was thinking, and it's crazy. The way the strategy you have to use to beat this guy, you can't stand up with him. I mean, it's about time fighters realize you can't win in a stand-up fight against him. He's too skilled, he's too accurate, and his defense is unlike anything out there. He reads a defense. He could read you punching him like Joe Montana could read a defense in the NFL. He knows what you're going to do. If you punch him, he can move around, he can move his head, he has that ability, he knows how to evade you and then make you pay for throwing those punches. You have to pin him down. It's as if you're trying to punch a housefly. You see a fly going buzzing and you try to hit him with punches. You're not going to be successful. You got to grab him, grab the housefly, you got to grab him, and then you have to take him down and you got to beat him up. You got to put him in one place and you have to control him, right? Not let him move around. He's not going to do any fancy, funny stuff on the ground and showboating, all right? What Sonnen did was he took him to the ground and he was beating the heck out of him, all right? So the humiliation, well, for the most part, before Sonnen got submitted, was actually against Silva, all right? Because he if anything, he was in no position to showboat. If you're on the ground and you're being controlled and being attacked, there's very little that you can do. He didn't do the game plan. Even in his first fight, he took Silva down. You got to take him to the ground. I mean, even that's not a gimme that you're going to win, because Silva has proven that he's been able to find ways to win, but make it tougher for him and give yourself a chance. So I just didn't understand his strategy, and the way I see it, guys, probably the only guy that can't stop Silva is Chael Sonnen. I mean, if he could work on his submission defense, and keep in mind, he fought him for 5 rounds. Silva was trying to get him into a submission, and he did have good submission defense throughout the fight. It just happened at the end. But I think the way I see it, the only guy that has the power, the speed, is either Sonnen and, of course, George St. Pierre. I think those are the only 2 guys right now that can stop Anderson Silva, because you've got to have very high level wrestling. You've got to be very patient, and that's the way you're going to stop this guy. Or else there's just no way to stop. And as far as Silva, you got to give the guy credit. I mean, and what's scary about it is that even as his career progresses, he's getting older now. He just looks as dominant as ever. So it makes you wonder, who can stop him. Maybe Sonnen, but of course Sonnen has a big, big task ahead of him. He's going to have to face Brian Stann, so it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. But all in all, it was a great card. I mean, great night for Brazil, right? I mean, Brazilian fighters, the 3 top Brazilian fighters on the card had unbelievable, highlight type of knockouts. So, very, very, very impressive, especially for Brazil fighters, and kind of interesting that if you listen to the crowd, it sounded like a soccer crowd. It was very, very interesting to hear and to see how a major MMA event would do in Brazil. So it was a great night of fights. So I'd like to know what you thought about the fights. Please leave your comments below the video, rate this video, and subscribe, and thank you for tuning in.